Hi, everyone. My name is Demarre McGill, and I'm coming to you live from my home in Seattle, Washington, where, in addition to being Associate Professor of Flute at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, I'm the Principal Flutist of the Seattle Symphony Orchestra. I feel especially fortunate to be in this wonderful city where the orchestra continues to perform for our community and beyond via live stream concerts every week. Especially during this time when so many organizations have thrown in the towel. I'm grateful that the Seattle Symphony was determined to continue to make music in a safe environment. So excited to be continuing this series of live stream events highlighting the wide range of masterclasses held by Carnegie Hall's Wild Music Institute. Today's focus is on orchestra woodwind excerpts from classes led by members of the Vienna Philharmonic and Royal Concertgebouw Orchestras during their regular visits to Carnegie Hall. We'd love to know where you're joining us from and to hear from you about any questions you may have about today's classes or woodwind and orchestral playing in general. So please add a comment in the live chat if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll have the chance to respond later in today's show. We'll also be checking in later in the show with one of the students who participated in the class to see what he's been up to. So let's get started. Our first segment features an excerpt that is very frequently requested in clarinet auditions, the solo from the variation section of Stravinsky's Firebird. We will hear Amr Hassan, who, as a member of Carnegie Hall's National Youth Orchestra of the USA, performed in a class led by Vienna Philharmonic clarinetist Daniel Ottensamer in February 2018.
Yeah, very nice, bravo. I think we can make even more dynamic things. The range is from piano till fortissimo, and sforzato. So I think it can be much more different, and try to be really precise with all the technique things. Sometimes it's not. I have to hear that really that the staccato thing. Let's try once more. That's a good dynamic. But try to do this crescendo. I mean, it's mezzo piano, okay, but I think it can be a little more, and because piano and then it's going to mezzo forte actually. So. Very good. Good. Yeah, don't be hectic, Once more. Yeah, stay long on this one. Yes, I think that's the clue here. This thing is a little tricky. Better. I don't really understand this. It's not clear. Peter Badam. It actually, this is the one, it has to lead there somehow. Even if it's piano, but I don't understand the rhythm, you know. So try to be clear that it's going there. Yeah, and then even more crescendo. Good. Yeah, try not to stop it. It's one thing, you know. The staccato should not stop the whole thing. Once more from 15. Yes. And now just really not hectic. Yeah. Very, very cool. It has to be a very, very cool place, I think. Yeah. You tend to be early here, you know. Really like try to stay in a very, very cool tempo. Very, very, very without humor, you know. just very like that. Let's try once more. 17. This is not perfect. I have to hear it. Yes. Good. Good. Crescendo. Yeah, and that's really like bah, like just. I would separate a little bit. Bah. Just a little, because this is a new bar and the fortissimo. So once more, last thing. Yeah, like that somehow. Yeah, just. But you know what I mean. Yeah. That has to be like really an ending of the whole thing. Very good, nice.
That was Amr Hassan performing in a class led by Vienna Philharmonic clarinetist Daniel Ottensamer. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Demarre McGill, and today we're sampling Carnegie Hall's masterclass archives to explore orchestral woodwind excerpts. For those of you who may follow European orchestral playing, Daniel Ottensamer is part of a remarkable Austrian family of clarinet virtuosos. His father, Ernst, was for many years principal clarinet of the Vienna Philharmonic, and his brother, Andreas, is now the principal clarinet of the Berlin Philharmonic. And on a very personal note, I have to say that other than the flute, the clarinet is pretty near and dear to me. I've been listening to beautiful clarinet playing for many, many years, played by my little brother, Anthony, principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic. So, of course, although the flute reigns supreme, I guess I do love the clarinet. So let's see if there are any questions in the chat. Okay, here's one from Sanjar from YouTube. Hi, what's the best dose of exercises? Okay, Sanjar is getting right to the point. If I understand this correctly, I'm gonna go with this. You know, when I was a student studying with Julius Baker at the Curtis Institute, he used to always say, Demarre, you need to get in a routine. You need to get in a routine. And I would say, Mr. Baker, I'm practicing a lot. He's like, no, but you're not on the routine. And years later, I finally understood what he meant, is that when I was in school, I was practicing tone exercises, scales, arpeggios, intervals, etudes, everything. But I don't believe that I was practicing these things under the context, under the umbrella of making music, of playing beautifully, of performing. And so Sanjar, who asks, what's the best dose of exercises? pick a tone exercise, pick some technical exercises, pick some etudes, and play them beautifully. Play them like you're going to perform them on the stage of Carnegie Hall, so that when you actually have the opportunity to do that, you're already in that mindset. If your exercises are beautiful, then so will your pieces be. So yeah, that's a good question. Okay, we have one more. What is Demarre's favorite flute solo? Well, I have too many. I love the flute repertoire, solo and orchestral, and this is actually a great question because this is going to lead us into our next performer. And once again, I want to remind you guys, I love the questions, so type away, and I look forward to answering them. But one of my most favorite orchestral flute solos is the solo from the fourth movement of Brahms' Fourth Symphony. This next clip we'll see will be flutist Audrey Amata playing this famous flute solo from the final movement of Brahms' Fourth Symphony. Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra's principal flutist, Karl-Heinz Schütz, led the class in March 2019.
Beautiful, yeah, beautiful things. May I ask you to make more difference between the moment when you are in these excerpts, the way you are playing it, a moment long you are orchestra flute and then you are the soloist. And this changes exactly here when the sarabande, when this Passacaglia thema is coming in. Da, 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 da. There is the point is changing. Change the color here more. Before it's like the sunset, the woodwinds are going down and emerges a beautiful solo flute. I think you can play a little bit more from here without making accent, but especially have an ear for the color. Immediately we have more body in the sound from there on. Huh? Can you just show us this? Perhaps start from here, from Do. Yeah, but more legato. Where is he starting? It's really very smoothly closing of the fingers. Not, we can hear everything. Yes. Diminuendo, and change. Yes. Continue, not too slow. It's a little bit too slow. Ko, pa. Good. More here. Do more this kind of. You know, underneath of all these, there is the Passacaglia. The whole first measure is a variation about E, then about Fa diez, then about Sol, and so on. A is already very hidden here. The is already here, and the C is completely missing for one measure. Mi, fa, sol, la, la diez, not here. C is then here. Okay, so this and this getting lost of the you're getting lost of the, you're losing your path. You know, at first the path is very clear, then you're getting somewhere, and I don't feel this this passion. Can you show us more? This is really, where are we going actually? You know. Okay, you see, underneath, try to hear this. There is like a continuation of it. Yeah? And again, this. But there's really something. It doesn't have to be much louder, but you know what I mean. Like a glove, and then inside, outside. It's changing completely there. And one last remark for this: we never play in Europe. We never play these 4 bars. Da 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 di da. But I'm always asking the students to imagine for the tempo. But ya da da ba ba. You were a little bit too slow. Da 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 di di ba 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 ba. Keep it more going, like in the Martin before we said. More phrasing to the next bar, more flow. Let's try the beginning once more. Three, 1, 2. Oh, yeah, much better. Yeah, okay. I think you have to watch the. Thank you very much, Audrey.
So, of course, this is a favorite for many flutists, myself included. And one of the things that I think is of the utmost importance when approaching this solo is understanding all that has happened prior to this solo. It's so easy in preparation for auditions to view these excerpts in isolation, when in fact we've gone through an entire universe of emotions, of stories, spanning not only the prior 3.5 movements of the symphony, but you can even say over 3 of Brahms' prior symphonies leading to this glorious flute solo. So for me, this knowledge is an important ingredient in producing the beauty, the depth, arc, and both introverted and extroverted displays of passion that are part of this excerpt from Brahms' 4th Symphony. So let's see, looking at the chat, there are a whole bunch of questions. I love this. We have a question from Samara Morris. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but how have you found the motivation to play in a virtual/remote music environment? How has it been for you? Okay, well, it's not easy. It's not easy for any of us. One thing that I believe strongly in, to put this in a nutshell, is that you have to know when to sit in the couch. You need to know when to go and just relax. That's so important. But equally important, if not more important, is to know when to get off the couch. And so when there's been times when, motivation is feeling low, I go to the couch and I just sit. It can be a day, it can be hours, it can be a day, it can be a couple of days. But it's important to, especially if you're a musician, get up, put your instrument together. You don't need to feel passionately about it all of the time. It's super easy, for instance, for me to put together my instrument and to play. I don't have to play 8 hours. I can just play a little bit, but I have to begin somewhere. The next day, do the same. The next day, do the same. And what happens is that the focus becomes more on commitment as opposed to simply passion and our version of love all of the time. And you'll find after doing this, just developing this commitment with the instrument over a few days, you will start to sound good and you will start to actually enjoy it. And then the emotion comes in, that pleasure comes in. But at first, just put together the instrument and play. That's my recommendation. And that's what I've been doing over the past 8 months. Let's see here. We have from Emily, any tips for performance, nerves, anxiety? Okay. A lot of people get nervous. I get nervous when I play. This is something that I've just accepted over the course of my life, over the course of my professional existence. My recommendation to anyone out there who experiences performance anxiety is to, number one, accept it. But number two, be super prepared. You want to get to the point where you're nervous, so nervous, and your level sinks a little bit. That level is still great. So I'm not always trying to peak when I'm performing. I'm assuming that maybe it's not going to be as good as it was yesterday, but I'm trying to be so prepared that even when my level goes down, even if the level goes down a little bit to where I'm not as happy as I felt yesterday, that level doesn't interfere with your experience with my music making at all. So preparation is everything. And then you'll find if you're so prepared, maybe you say you'll get nervous, but you're really not so nervous because you can do it no matter what. Okay, let me try to find one more question and we're going to move on to our third and final masterclass. Let's see. Okay, Mr. Demarre, this is from Kara. Are you thinking about how to sing the line as you play? Your approach to vibrato is so not cookie cutter. Thank you. I always think of a vocal performance when you play. Wow, that's such a compliment. Thank you very much. So I am thinking of singing when I'm playing. Always. There isn't a single piece of music that I find is not connected to the voice. And if it's not connected to the voice, that absence of something that's vocal, perhaps in that music, is important. But I connect everything I do to lyricism, to singing, literally everything. I really think it's important for me, at least, and I hope for you, to, whenever you pick up your instrument, to remember that we spend so much time from the beginning of our time with instruments, learning how to play the instrument, that it's so easy to forget that the goal is to make music. And singers have that advantage. Of course, they're working on vocal technique, of course, but their instrument is their body. And it's important for us as instrumentalists also to really find that place within us, find our own voice, that we're simply using the instrument to transfer, to share with the listeners of our music. So yes, I'm constantly thinking about singing. So great questions. For our third and final excerpt, bassoonist Joshua Elmore will perform the famous solo from the second movement of Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 4. This class was led by Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra bassoonist Simon Van Holen back in January 2018. And we'll still have some time for me to answer some questions, so please submit them. And we'll also be talking to Joshua after this clip, so you can include any questions you may have for him as well.
Very good. I'm gonna take my pencil. Could you make a little bit more the direction always? That you really go directly there to the A. And again, 2 bars together. And then 4 bars together. You really go there. That you maybe don't open too much here. That you can continue the line until there. Yeah. Could you try that again for me, please? And back. And again. Now to the A. Okay, we're gonna concentrate on the first phrase for now. Make sure that you articulate enough here. Now, there's another thing. You put on every note the same vibrato. I would try to have it, I don't know, what does it say? It says, it doesn't say anything here, but I think it says cantabile, you know, in the original score. That you put the vibrato on the A, but not before. I'll try, see if something comes out. You have there the intensity, but not before. Yes, and relax. Can you make more difference between this, and where is it here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, accent, no accent. Not too much on the D flat. Not too much vibrato before. Now vibrato on the, yeah, there. yourself. Yeah. To really go to the sorry. To really go to the A. Be careful. And not too loud. Good morning, New York. Yeah. Again, vibrato on the A, not before. Good. Okay. Very good. Very good. So try to think of the vibrato as an extra color, not something which you put on the whole time. That you really put the vibrato on the notes where you really want to have some extra expression.
That was Joshua Elmore, who first came to Carnegie Hall as a member of NYO USA in 2015 and 16. Welcome, Josh. It's great to have you with us today.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Wow. This was 5 years ago?
Yeah, this is my sophomore year of my undergrad at Juilliard.
I want to hear you play now if you're sounding that good then. Really gorgeous playing. Really gorgeous playing. So, could you start by telling us just a little bit about yourself and what you were doing at the time of this masterclass and where you are today?
I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I currently live in Los Angeles, California, and I'm a student at the Colburn School for my master's degree. At the time of the masterclass, I was a sophomore at Juilliard, starting my second semester. So it's quite a while ago, 5 years at this point. Now I'm, just adjusting to online school like basically every other student now in 2020 at this time. Yeah.
So I understand that back in 2015, when you won a place in NYO USA, you had never been in a plane before. This is all the important information we need to cover, Joshua. Okay, you've never been in a plane before. So first of all, that's true.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. And that your first flight was the 15-hour trip to China with the orchestra. Is this also true?
Yep, New York to Beijing.
Okay. Can you tell us about that experience and how it may have impacted your life since?
Since I've taken many more flights, so I'm a little used to it now. At the time, I was pretty excited. I don't know if I was so much excited about flying as I was about the 15-hour trip. I think I was more excited about the flying aspect of it. But it was a very riveting experience, especially takeoff. Never having experienced something very turbulent and shaky. I think it was quite the experience, and I think to have that first flight be a 15-hour trip was a huge undertaking, but I conquered. I actually ended up getting 2 ear infections that trip. So the first couple of concerts in China, I had both of my ears were clogged. I couldn't really hear much. But eventually, as the tour went on, it got better. But at the time, it was very difficult, very interesting experience.
I remember one of the first flights I took was with my youth orchestra to Europe. And of course, flying was exciting for me,
Right.
but even more exciting was seeing a completely different world, and somehow that served as a driving force in my life. I want to have the opportunity. I want to create a life where I have a reason, a professional reason, for music, to see the world. Did you have that experience from that trip to China?
I did. And I think the really, it's super cliche and everybody always says it, but music is the universal language. And I think it's so interesting how, on that particular tour, we toured with Charles Dutoit and we played a commissioned piece by Tan Dun, and we played Beethoven's Emperor Concerto for piano, and we played Symphonie Fantastique by Berlioz. And, even though we were 13-hour time difference and we were having the language barrier between English and Chinese, I think the fact that we were able to communicate the music and, what it means to us as well as what it means to a lot of people, I think is a really special experience.
So I'm just still so fascinated by how beautifully you played as a sophomore at Juilliard. Who do you credit with providing the opportunity for you to actually be on this trajectory that you're on? I like to say that I can see in the future, and I really can. I'm joking, but really, you're going to have so many opportunities to share your beautiful music making with the world. But tell me a little bit about your roots that helped to um, to nurture what would become this, really beautiful bassoon playing, this beautiful sound.
Yeah, I really accredit it a lot to my mother. She was really a driving force growing up, always taking me at 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings down to the Cleveland Music Settlement, where I was a part of multiple different programs, the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra, the Cleveland Youth Wind Symphony. And, all of my band directors from high school, they also were a huge part of my upbringing and carrying myself in a specific way and developing me not only as a musician but also as a human being. I think one of the most important things about being a musician is not only being good at your instrument but also being fundamentally a good human. I think that is how one is able to communicate music to others. My teachers growing up, Mark DeMio, Barrick Stees, my teacher in my undergrad, Judith LeClaire, and now my teacher, Richard Bean. I think they've all played a very, very tremendous role in my upbringing and, bringing me to the musician and the person that I am today.
Wow, that's so beautiful, so beautiful. Um, in particular about being a good human being. You know, I just find that one of the things that I am drawing upon the most as a musician, and I'm just going to guess that you may feel the same way, is honestly is love.
Yeah.
It's just the most personal, pure love that if you are able to find that connection and inject that into your music, that is one thing that anyone who's listening to you can respond to, can react to. Um,
One of the interesting things my mom used to tell me when I was growing up, she said, you can tell when somebody feels the music, you can tell when somebody loves what they're doing. And, growing up, being sixth, seventh, eighth grade, I didn't really understand what that meant. And I would kind of get upset. I was like, well, I am feeling the music. I do love playing the bassoon. But I think, experiencing life and all it has to offer, I think also enriches one's love and deepens one's love for music or whatever that particular person is doing. So I think experiences that I've had through Carnegie Hall and through a lot of different organizations that have sort of paved the way for me have really increased my love for music and my passion for what I do.
that's wonderful. So, as we all know, this field as a profession is not always an easy one to embark on. But if we don't have a dream, how can we expect one to come true? I would love to hear about your dreams as a bassoonist. What are some things you would love to accomplish?
Specifically for me, I think in the height of all of the stuff that is happening in the world, I want to be a light for young African American classical musicians to sort of have people to look up to as they're growing up. I know for me, you and your brother Anthony were big inspirations for me growing up throughout high school, seeing two African American classical music, specifically woodwind players that were so accomplished and so musical. I think it's important that people that look like me have somebody that is doing well and is doing what they would like to do and sort of pave the way for them. Ideally, I would like to have a teaching studio and also be principal bassoonist of an orchestra in the United States.
Great. I really see zero reason why you can't have all of those things. As beautifully as you play, as beautifully as you think, you can have it all. And I want to make one comment. Listening to you speak about what you just spoke about, is that it's important for all of us to realize, all of us, everyone to realize that at a certain point, Joshua is a black kid from Cleveland. You were before the bassoon, I'm a black kid from the south side of Chicago. My brother, principal clarinet of the New York Philharmonic, is a black kid from the south side of Chicago. So it's so easy for people to form opinions that inspire reactions based on the news, based on stereotypes and generalizations. But if you weren't paid attention to, if you weren't given the bassoon, if there are, well, I can say this, there are others.
Yes.
There's countless others that exist in these areas that people may look down on. I can say, the south side of Chicago. It's my home. And it birthed classical musicians, plural. So I think it's wonderful, and I look forward to perhaps even listening to someone maybe 10 years from now who rightfully credits you with being an important part of their trajectory. It's such a pleasure to hear you. I want to hear you. I want to work with you. And I know it will happen. Thank you so much, Joshua.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of questions here. Let's see. We'll take a few questions before we say farewell. Okay, this is from Stasia Kolsa. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Stasia. It's a beautiful name. Do you have any advice for auditioning? I talked a little bit about being prepared earlier. We can start with that. One way that I go about it is pretty early on in my process for preparing for an audition. I'm trying to perform as soon as possible. I'm playing for anyone that will listen to me. I set a high goal of a number of people I want to play for, 50, 60, whatever, something ridiculous. Individual sessions of just, will you listen to me play? I don't care if you're a musician, you have ears and you have an opinion. So that by the time I get to the audition, I'm very comfortable with presenting everything that I've been working on. I also recommend recording yourself. It really helps to know what you sound like. It helps to know what you sound like when you're feeling good, when you're feeling bad, when you're feeling tired. It helps to know what you sound like when you think you sound bad and when you think you sound good. Because come that day of the audition, especially if you're feeling a little nervous, you want to trust that no matter how you're feeling, that ultimately you still sound good no matter what. You're still able to communicate everything that you want to communicate to your audience. So preparation, getting used to performing and knowing exactly what you sound like in any situation. Okay, very good question. Let's see. Okay, Barbara Jones asks, thank you. Well, she says, thank you so much for this. The questions have been great. Yes, they have. This may be too comprehensive, but what do you think is the most valuable trait to have as a musician, both pro and amateur? Well, it's really useful to love music. Let's start off with that. And it seems so obvious, but I've encountered a lot of people who forget that as classical musicians that we're making music. You know, I've encountered a lot of people who treat it as a craft, the craft of learning an instrument. And, you know, if that's where your joy is, ignore what I'm going to say. But I think there's greater joy in embracing the fact that we play music that, simply put, makes people's days. You know, we're playing music for someone who's been taking care of their mother, of their grandmother, and decided to treat herself to a symphony concert, to a bassoon recital. Maybe because she had a connection with the instrument when she was in elementary school, for whatever reason. But our music brings people joy. And you don't have to be the greatest clarinetist in the world, flutist in the world, to move someone. So if you're able to have that as a focus, this idea of communicating what the composer, what you believe the composer intended, telling a story, sharing love via your instrument, then I think that you will get further than a lot of people, even people who are doing it professionally, that have found a way to perfect the craft, but are so disconnected from that initial joy of being able to create music with their instrument. So love what you do and recognize that your music moves people. I would say that that's a very valuable trait. Okay, we'll take one more question. Let's see. Okay, here is one for you, Josh. If you're ready for a question. Nice playing. What is your setup? I am guessing an 8,000, 11,000 series Heckel. What vocal and reed shape specifications? This is from Brian Cooley.
Okay. So I play on a 7,000 series Heckel, so an early 7,000 series Heckel. And I play on the Hertzberg shape. Very similar. I basically use the same reed style that I used when I was still studying at Juilliard with Judith LeClaire, with a couple of modifications. Now that I'm living out west, I think reeds are a little more temperamental and need a little more finite tuning in order to make them work in the way that they need to in the dry climate that LA is. But yeah, that is my setup.
Wonderful. Okay, actually, there's one question here that I love, and after this, we will conclude this wonderful session. Okay, this is from YouTube, Kane. Okay, I'm quite terrified for the future. Many times, I feel that I'm not worthy for a professional career as a classical musician. Any tips for dealing with self-doubt / imposter syndrome? Okay, so Kane, I will tell you something. All right. Most people that I know experience self-doubt. Okay. I know a lot of people that experience imposter syndrome. Okay. I don't belong. What am I doing here? You know, it's really, really important to understand this and to understand that self-doubt and imposter syndrome have nothing to do with success. It has nothing to do with your career path. It has nothing to do with how far you're able to go in any profession, because the people who are at the top of their field also feel these things. The reason this is important to know is because you then realize that having these things, just like nerves, don't need to stop you from being the best that you can be. So there's a type of acceptance with these things that you just kind of let them be, let them pass through you. They can hang out if they want to, but it doesn't matter at all. If you're honest about what you're producing, what you're doing, if you're honest about your goals, dream big, but you have to know about yourself. You need to know how you're playing. If you do, then you can develop confidence even at an early stage. Honesty really breeds confidence and pride, because if you're honest about where you are right now and you know where you need to be, you can then properly observe the progress. And there is nothing more satisfying than that. That brings so much joy. So that's my tip with dealing with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter if you experience those things. You can still be great. That's it. Listen, it's been so wonderful spending this time with you all. I would like to thank all of you for tuning in and watching these wonderful classes presented by Carnegie Hall's Wild Music Institute. As a reminder, please visit us again to watch next week's episode on orchestral string excerpts, hosted by my friend, the amazing bassist of the Philadelphia Orchestra, Joseph Conyers. So be safe, be healthy, be well, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.